Alright, what's going on, guys? We're back with another video today. We're gonna be talking about the finale and whether or not it was good, right? Because I've reviewed the whole season. If you haven't watched those videos, go watch them. Okay, we're not gonna shameless promote again. All right. We're gonna talk about the finale, and we are gonna get just straight into it. All right, we're not gonna do any shenanigans or anything. We're just gonna get straight into it. So we're gonna talk about season 9, episode 10, Field of Dreams. All right, let's get into it. So to start, it started with the chili bit, all right, where it was a different Rick and Morty and their whole family. They ate chili. It's kind of funny. Absolutely destroyed, right? Super. It's kind of funny and it's like a good fake out, but I've watched the show enough where I kind of realized like right away. I'm like, I don't think this is them, right? I mean, it could have been, but and I'm so glad it wasn't them, and it was just such a little bit. It had really not that much to do with the whole story because I was worried, especially I was talking about in last week's video. I was worried that it was gonna be a bad bit, but it wasn't. Okay, it was to advertise the estate sale, which is when a whole family dies. They go in and they just like choose things, a bunch of Rick and Mortys, whatever. Which also begs the question, how they know about this, especially when the Citadel of Rick's gone and whatnot. I don't know. I'm not gonna look too deep into that. That's just something to think about. But our Rick and our Morty go there. Our Rick finds the frictionless pedestal, right? So he stickers that, but then our Morty talks to Sunglasses Morty, and he's like, "Yeah, I just wanted a funeral hop." And Morty's like, "Funeral hop, right?" And then Rick takes you to your own funerals, right? And he's like, "No, I drive myself." Pulls out a Portal Junior. Morty's like, "Oh my god!" And he's like, "Wait, you don't have one of these? Like most of us do, right?" And I love the Portal Junior so much. It's such a fun concept, right? That they're doing, and I love it. Now people might say like it's character like assassination, or okay, that's a bit exaggeration, but like it's kind of breaking the whole character development with Rick not giving our Morty the Portal Junior. And I genuinely think it's like, you can say what you want. I think it's to protect him, right? Obviously, that's just me saying shit. I don't. This is not canon or anything. I think personally, it's to protect him, especially since he saw what it did to other Ricks. He's probably seen what it's done to other Mortys and whatever, right? Like having access to every universe, right? And I think it's just to protect him, right? Um, Anyway, so they go back. Rick buys a motorcycle for the frictionless thing, so he keeps spinning it. And then he's like, "What?" Morty's like, "Have you ever been to your own funeral?" Right? And character growth. I'll talk about it more later, but Rick's like, you can do better than getting emotional hand jobs from like fake families, right? Morty Mickey brings up a good point where it's like whatever, but this is him like warning him, and then Morty pretty much is just like whatever, and he goes to do it anyway, right? So the first one, anyway, what happens is Morty goes to all these funerals, right? It's a fun little bit, There's like a Toast family, right? It starts with the Long Legs one. Morty was skeptical at first, but he goes to the Long Legs one. Then Jessica kisses him on like the forehead and stuff. And he's like, "I should have done this when I was alive." And he's like, "Oh shit, this is cool." So he goes to a bunch of them. There's like a VR universe. I'm not gonna talk too much about that, but there's tons of them. Right? And he finally goes to one where he's called Mort, and his dad's giving a speech. I was just like, whatever. And he stays there for a while. He goes like to the full funeral, right? When they're like putting him in the ground or whatever. And that's when he gets caught, right? That's when he gets caught. But like the dog comes over here and he's like, "Oh shoot, you guys have never seen a Morty before." And then he explains it to him, right? And then he hangs out with him for like the whole day, right? Hangs out with him for the whole day, and eventually he wakes up on the couch when they're all watching a movie, and he's like, "Oh shoot, my family probably misses me, right?" Um, so he's like, "Oh shoot, I gotta go." And then the Jerry's like, also this Jerry is like insane. I don't want to talk too much about it, right? But the Jerry's like, "All right, well, you're good to, you should come visit us anytime you want," right? Gives him like keys to the house, is what I think it is. Not that it matters. He's a portal gun, right? Um. Anyway, so he goes back home, and Rick's like, "Yo, where have you been?" Which also like, maybe I'm just dragging shit out of there, but like noticing that Morty was gone, whatever, and he just says, it's to hand him the wrench or whatever. But I think it's a little deeper than that. I don't want to say for sure, but I do think it's a little deeper than that, right? Like completely noticing that he was gone for the whole day. Obviously we don't see much like day-to-day life like outside of them like being together, but anyway, moving forward, moving past that. Whatever, and then he interacts with the family a little bit, and he's like, well, this is stupid. So he portals back and then starts explaining his like life in the our universe to the Mort. I'm gonna call them the Mort family, right? Whatever. He keeps jumping back and forth, kind of showing parallels where it's like the Mort family's like in love with him, loves him, and shows all of it. Well, the other one kind of whatever, doesn't seem to care per se, right? Um, oh, something I forgot to mention is when he came back and Rick noticed that he was gone. Rick built a magnetic, the friction of this thing. He made it so it's like a magnetic thing, and then it drags Morty up. Just hold that in your thoughts. Don't stress about it too much. But anyway, he keeps going back and forth between the families. It's kind of a sad scene in a sense where it's like he's going to this other family and getting the love that he like seeks because he can't get it with his family, right? So he keeps going back and forth, right? Fun scenes, right? And then eventually, like, he's like, Jerry's like, well, I would love to take you to the cabin, but the girls are going to the soup kitchen. This is the Mort family, by the way, right? The Mort family is also like that the Mort, right, or like the Morty of that universe was very like outgoing, supposedly, right? Outgoing, like did all these sports, was a rock climber, like Jerry's super proud of him and everything, right? Also, Rick is not in this family because, you know, he's an alcoholic, which Morty's like, oh yeah, like obviously because our Rick's an alcoholic too, right? But anyway, moving past that, they go to the cabin, and then Jerry tells Morty about how he died. He's like, and then Morty's like, Jerry starts crying, and he's like, "You're not even my son, but I still love you the same." And then Morty's like, "I can be your son, I can be your son." And then Rick grabs the portal and goes, "Break it then," which is also just a crazy scene. He's like, "Break it," right? And then Morty's like, well, what if I have to do this or this? He's like, what? Go back to that family that doesn't love you? It's a great scene. And then they fight over the portal gun. It breaks, and Morty fucking escapes. He tries to escape so bad, right? He finds that Mort, right? He finds his stuff, and it helps him guide him back to society. And then Morty's like, well, I gotta find this Rick, right? He doesn't say that, but like, that's what he does. So he finds the Rick, which he's a professor at MIT, right? Um, this Rick, oh, dude, I love this so much. He doesn't have portal travel or anything, right? He actually technically doesn't even know it exists, but he's teaching a class, and at first it's kind of like they do a little fake out, which I love. Dude, this episode is just okay. No glaze yet. I'll talk about it at the end more, but where he's talking about, basically, I don't remember exactly what it was about, but it has to do something with like universes and stuff, and he's like, well, that means nothing matters or everything does. It's such a good scene because it's showing that like it like fakes you out like, oh, this is just like a regular Rick, and he's not. He's actually like mentally doing better, right? But then he goes into the thing and starts, Morty talks to him, and they go into his office and they start talking about portal travel and the central finite curve and like the infinite multiverse and stuff, right? And then going through, he takes out a box. Morty goes through and goes, "Can you create this portal gun for me?" Right? Which also, I'm pretty sure Morty should know that only two Ricks have ever actually invented portal travel. But no, he does know. He does know because it comes up later in this episode. But I think he's convinced that he can do it anyway. So Rick takes him home, right? He's living in a nice house, and he has a new wife, which is literally insane. Actually, take a step back. He goes to an AA meeting. He has this really nice speech, right? And then he's also interacting with all these people. Like, he's super friendly. He has a lot of friends, right? Which also just shows that like Ricks can actually like, be friendly if they're not alcoholics, right? It's actually a lot of the alcohol, not excuse, right? A lot of the alcohol or whatever, right? And he has a new wife, right? They're happy together, right? Um, whatever, and then his wife's like reassuring him because he's like, it's not as easy as just like creating portal travel, right? Because that's pretty much what he says. And also the wife notices that Morty's the same eyes as Rick. Oh my god, that's like, like it makes sense obviously because they're related, but you just wouldn't think about it, and you just wouldn't think about it, and like she notices it. Oh my god, it's so insane, right? Which also another side note is this Rick doesn't have a Morty like all the other Ricks do, or like actually not all of them, but most of them do, right? Um, which is kind of foreshadowing a little bit to like maybe him not being like so mentally insane and whatever. But anyway, um, he's been going to AA meetings. He's in like a good mental spot, right? But then they start working on portal travel, and at first it's like fine, right? Like the wife's supportive and everything. But the longer they go on, right? The longer they go on, the more like more mad he gets, right? And eventually he finds a picture of Diane and like his thing, right? And then Morty keeps comforting him, and eventually he just like snaps at his wife and is like, let me work, right? She goes back inside, and then that's when Morty drops it, and the something like you don't even think about is that Morty drops that Diane didn't leave because Rick's okay. Hang on. Rick is like, all right, she's gonna leave me like they all do, right? And then Morty's like, Diane didn't leave you, right? She's gone from infinite universe, right? And Rick's kind of like, oh my gosh, what? Like that's crazy, right? But and he's saying he also told Rick that like most Ricks don't even get this far. They just cheated, right? Not talking about Rick Prime there, I think is kind of crazy. Like not even mention him at all. Like he created the Omega device and whatever, right? But also what I want to take away from that is this Rick doesn't know about the Omega device, and he genuinely thinks like Diane just left him, which is insane. Insane. It's something that like I didn't even think about. Like other Ricks don't even like some of them probably don't even know that Diane got erased across infinity and genuinely just like this Rick thinks that she just left him, right? But that's also I don't know. It's just I just never thought about it. But anyway, we'll keep moving on. We'll keep moving on, right? And as time goes on, he slowly gets transformed more into alcohol. Like he even starts drinking alcohol again, even though he hasn't drank. I think he said like 17 years after like Beth kicked him out. Beth and Jerry kicked him out, right? Um, so he slowly becomes more alcoholic and he becomes more like our Rick, right? The more he goes into portal travel, which, okay, I do love the parallels they draw between the two Ricks, where, and this has probably happened with a lot of them, once they start getting into portal travel and even like thinking about it, they become alcoholics again, or they already were, right? And they become obsessed with this portal stuff, like to the point where we're not gonna skip that far right now, but just hold that thought, right? Because eventually Morty's sleeping in a bed, right? Sleeping in the bed in the house, and hears them fighting, so goes downstairs to see what they're fighting about, and Rick's like, I'm so close, right? And he's like whatever, whatever. He's fighting with his wife, and the wife, is getting mad at him for all like being like obsessed with this and like obsessing over this all he's been doing, right? And she's like, you're gonna lose me too, right? Or she says, you're this close to losing me too, right? And then, Rick doesn't care, whatever, because he's so close to creating portal travel. And they have this montage where he tries to create portal travel a bunch of times, and nothing's working necessarily. Or they get super close, like they open a portal, and a bunch of fish come out, or like a portal goes on the wall. It's just so good. Overall good, like great scenes, right? But then Morty comes down the stairs, listens for a little bit, and then walks back up. And right as he's walking back up, she's like, "This is what your Rick is like too, right?" And then she's like, how can a teenage boy even be like this infected in his mind, right? And then he's like, he his quote, and this is such a crazy quote, and I've seen a little bit of people talk about this, but I'm surprised more people talk about this. He says he belongs more to me than to you, which is an insane line from Morty, right? He's literally just basically saying like, yeah, you're just worthless, right? In the whole grand scheme of things, you're just worthless, right? But then right after that, Rick starts drinking again, right? Rick starts drinking again and drags him out of bed, whatever they do. They go to MIT, right? And to go grab supplies, and he turns the janitor into like a long neck barking dog, right? He's just like, and then he's like, morals, Morty, morals. That's what's been holding me back, right? Literally, like the slow transformation, it's so symbolic because it makes you realize that like our Rick didn't go insane because of the multiversal portal travel stuff. Ours went insane and like had a psychotic break because he lost his Diane, right? Which also probably like correlates to like with the Citadel Ricks and all the other Ricks where it's like they're just kind of pieces of shit and whatever and alcoholics because they got portal travel and they're just like nothing matters. And it's kind of it's a nice moment too because just be honest, right? If any of us did it, right? Doesn't matter your smartness or whatever. Like, who cares if you did something bad in this reality or this universe or whatever when you could just go to a different one where you didn't do it, right? It's such an obvious thing, right? But anyway, moving forward, right? Um, so he drags him out of bed, right? And then eventually he thinks he did it. He made a portal. It's stable, right? And then he's like, and then Morty's like, I'm gonna miss you, like whatever. And Rick's like, well, we got a doorway here, right? And then Jerry, Beth, and Summer show up. The Mort's family, right? Like Mort's family, they show up, right? And there's like this. It's not a pretty fight, right? It's not like a cool fight, right? But they're fighting, right? Obviously Rick's drunk, right? And he throws a cat. Rick and then Jerry's like, "Have you even tested the thing? You're gonna let a kid go through that?" And then Rick Rick throws a cat in there. It comes out like red, which I also think like all of its skin is off and it's like kind of burnt, right? Which I also think is a great parallel to when our Rick was trying to create portal travel before Rick Prime killed his family, right? And he threw the apple through, and it was still intact, but it was like burnt to crisp, right? I think that's a great parallel, meaning like this Rick is close, right? He's super close, and the cat's even breathing, so it's literally just like it like skinned the cat, right? Like just a chunk of it came off, which okay, you might say is not close, but that's pretty close. Like it worked, right? But you just need to get over that hurdle, right? Which also makes him kind of the third Rick to create portal travel, kind of, right? He was also really close. But anyway, we're gonna skip past that, right? Um, they get into a big fight. Eventually, everybody dies one way or another. Rick gets shot. Summer gets decapitated by the portal stuff, right? After Beth misses a shot and starts sucking up everything, gets decapitated. Um, Jerry gets the fish portal put on him, and it just like whatever kills him. And then Beth kills herself. Just sorry, offs herself, right? Which is just like an insane little thing that happens there, right? Um, and and so everybody's dead, and this is such a great parallel, and I don't know if anybody knows this. This might have just been me, right? To when Rick's family dies too, like he watches like his Beth and Diane die, where he's just literally just like, he just literally just sits down and is like, holy shit. Like, I just watched my family die. And Morty did the same thing. Obviously, it's not the same thing because it's not his family. But I think that's a cool, like, kind of parallel that I saw, right? And maybe that's just me, pulling straws or whatever. But that's a great parallel, right? Um, uh, he just sits there, just silence for a little bit, right? His whole family died, especially ones that like loved him, right? All just dead, right? All because of him. And in a sense, like, well, in the universe's sense, all because of him, right? Which, I mean, if he never showed up, they wouldn't have died, right? And I think another part of the parallel too is like, in the universe's sense, it's Rick's fault for not accepting portal travel from Rick Prime, right? And that's why his Beth and Diane died. I bet you he has some guilty conscience of it. I bet you Morty does now of this family, right? Like, if I didn't do this, then they'd still be alive, kind of stuff. Survivor's guilt, right? Um, but then the estate sale people come, and what I love so much is in a crowd of Rick and Mortys, right? Our Morty recognizes his Rick right away, and Rick recognizes Morty right away. And another thing I love too, right, is Morty turns the sunglasses, Morty and Rick into the long neck dogs, right? But in that whole thing, Rick just drags them out of there, right? So I love that they they instantly saw each other, right? Instantly recognized each other. But I also love, and that come back to the very beginning when I was talking about the frictionless thing and Rick telling him like this isn't a good idea, but still like is like it's your funeral. I mean, literally it was his funeral, but you know, kind of just letting him do his own thing instead of making fun of him or whatever, right? Rick doesn't he doesn't kind of showing the growth throughout the whole series where Rick doesn't he doesn't he doesn't make fun of Morty. He doesn't say anything. You realize that Morty just, you know, whatever. And he doesn't say anything. He's just, all right, let's go home, right? Doesn't say anything. Doesn't make fun of him or whatever, right? For the rest of the episode, I'm not gonna mention it again, but I think that's like a great character. It's like I feel like I'm thinking of mostly of like the Vat of episode or the Vat of Acid episode, right? Where he makes fun of him, or even earlier in the seasons where it's like the whole the whole Morty punch card system where Morty does his own journeys and Rick's like, well, that was fucking stupid, wasn't it? Kind of like proves it to him. That time, he let Morty do the whole thing, didn't stop him, just warned him it's not a good idea. Morty didn't listen to him, and he's like, all right, your funeral, right? And, oh my god. That's like insane character development for Rick. I can't believe it, right? And Morty kind of de kind of going through the same thing Rick did, like I said, the parallel with him dying of Rick Prime. But anyway, they go back home, and Morty's just like going to his whole family. It's kind of crazy where it's like, it must suck for Morty because it felt like the one family that could love him died, and then he goes back just to kind of like get like proved right because like it's just awkward where it's like Summer like tells him to move out of the way, and then Morty's like, I love you guys, and then Beth's like, yeah, don't make it weird, don't make it weird, and then Jerry's doing Jerry things with the stupid hat plot line that he's been doing. It's not like an actual plot line, it's just like whatever, it was throughout the episode, and then he just like lays down, goes to bed. Cut to Rick coming in drunk, which is also like a fun parallel to earlier in the episode when the new Rick came in drunk, like the Mort Rick came in drunk, and drags him off. Not even like something like that stupid, right? He shows him the frictionless motorcycle and also more character development. I can't believe it, right? And I think it's all character development and everything, and that's why I love this episode because we haven't seen a lot of Mortys in this episode, right? But we have seen a lot of Ricks just subtly, and I love it because it's the don't tell show, right? But anyway, so he shows it to him, and then he's like, "Look, Morty, I fixed the magnet thing for you." Literally saying it's his idea, like it was Morty's idea, right? The whole magnet thing, right? Which insane character development, right? And they're both on the motorcycle. He drops the motorcycle, and they drive off, and they drive into the sunset, and Rick's like, I'm your dad, Morty. I'm your dad, right? And then trust him to take the wheel even though he can't see. And that's such character development where Rick trusts Morty to drive the motorcycle. It's something so little, but it's something so just insane, right? Trust him to drive the motorcycle, right? And oh my god, the everybody worries about the here's your dad thing, but I think that's the whatever. And like figuratively speaking, I mean his family's dead, right? This is the closest thing he has to his dad, even though it's not even his Rick, but he's been with him his whole life, right? And then Morty's like, yeah, you're my dad. It's like kind of a weird scene in my opinion. I think it's kind of the weirdest scene in the whole episode, right? But and it kind of brings it down like a tiny bit in my opinion. But the whole idea they're going for, right, is that Rick is like a father figure to Morty, right? And literally is like trusting him, right? Ricks don't trust Mortys like that, right? Obviously it's nothing like crazy, but like whatever, and they drive off to the sunset, right? And then Morty realizes like during the whole thing when he's saying he's like, "Yes, you're my dad," or whatever. Okay, this just makes I'm making it sound weird, but it's a better scene if you watch it. You'll know what I'm talking about, right? Um, uh, During the whole scene, he like kind of rubs up against Rick and realizes that like Rick is really what he wants and what he needs, right? Which is more character development where it's like after all this whole thing, like this is his Rick and that's who he loves, right? And Rick loves him and like whatever, right? That's all the Rick and Morty stuff in terms of like, and I mean like literally Rick and Morty stuff. Oh my god! Before I move on to the post-credit Mr. Poopy Butthole scene, oh my god, I cannot believe like what they pulled off here. Do I think it's better? This might be as good as the Fearhole episode, and I love that episode. This is easily better than the season 8 finale. Not that like the season 8 finale is bad in any way. This is better than that episode. This might be better than the Fearhole episode. I might like this more. This is such like it's such a cool concept where you don't even like think about it. Where it's like there are universes in the central finite curve where like Rick isn't with the family because we never see it, right? You just never think about it, and they finally explored that. And also like Rick almost inventing portal travel. He was pretty damn close, right? I feel like he literally had like one barrier left and he would have invented portal travel, which makes the third Rick in the central finite curve to do it, right? I think him him and Morty's relationship, the new Rick is what I'm gonna call him, right? Is chef's kiss, right? Chef's kiss, right? This whole episode, chef's kiss. Chef makeout. Okay, that's weird, but you get my point. Literally, oh my god, such a good episode. This is easily the best episode in this season. I rank it 1 with a 10 out of 10. I don't think 9.9 out of 10, just because I think they could convey the dad thing at the end a little bit better. That's really my only downside to it, right? I get what they were going for. I just think the execution was a little bit poor. But chef's kiss for this episode, right? Um, yeah. So literally, in like Rick's development through the whole series, right? It's been 9 seasons, and Morty's, where it's like they're kind of like the best they've ever been. You know what I mean? Like they're in the best spot relationship wise with each other they've ever been, which is great because we're going into the 10th season, and I think the 10th season is gonna be wicked. This season's been a blast, but okay, let's not talk about that. We still need to talk about the Mr. Poopy Butthole stuff because this is so important. And right before this, I watched this episode so many times, and I was like, Mr. Poopy Butthole. Anyway, so essentially, it's if you don't think too deep about it, it's a whatever post-credit scene because we saw Mr. Poopy Butthole in the last season where he took over one of his variants place, right? And his wife almost immediately noticed, right? That like the variant's place he took. So he took his variant's place, and the people in this universe, they're going to the fourth dimension trying to get her husband back, like Mrs. Poopy Butthole, right? Trying to get her husband back, which is the other Mr. Poopy Butthole, and they're going to the fourth dimension, right? Now, now. If you're just thinking about it, it probably just glanced out of your head, right? You're like, oh, that's kind of funny, whatever. It's kind of a weird bit. We might see Evil Morty in season 10. Now, hear me out. Hear me out. I know he only comes in odd seasons, but also the 10th season's like special, right? The 10th season is special, so we might get 3 seasons of Evil Morty in a row. But I know this is kind of like, and I don't want to like LARP Rick and Morty, right? Because, hang on, let me explain myself real quick. Before you click off, let me explain myself, okay? So, I don't remember what episode it was, but it's like the train episode where they're like, oh, I can't, I don't, it's this train episode that's like about storytelling, right? And they're like, you want to see the end of your story? Evil Morty and evil Mr. Poopy Butthole and an army of things there. Now, did you hear what I said? Evil Morty and evil Mr. Poopy Butthole. Where is Evil Morty right now? He's in the time prison, right? Or you could say the fourth dimension, right? Mr. Poopy Butthole and them just went to the fourth dimension. Mr. Poopy Butthole's kind of like mad at Rick, whatever. Evil Morty's like kind of, well, he's probably pissed, right? He's stuck in time prison, right? Probably for like ever. right? Now, I remember I was like, well, I want to know what the big bad is. It's gonna be Evil Morty, Mr. Poopy Butthole, I think, right? Now, I could just be pulling shit out of nowhere, and that whole thing could have just been a gag. But I literally rewatched the clip. Mr. Poopy Butthole is in that clip with Evil Morty and his army. So genuinely, that might come true, and which is crazy because I was like, dude, there's something about it. And then somebody mentioned how Evil Morty's in the fourth dimension, but this genuinely could be how it goes. And I know we're supposed to get 12 seasons, but maybe it ends in season 10. Right? Maybe the series ends in season 10, or like our Morty and Rick die after 10 seasons, right? We follow a new one after that. I don't know, but all I'm saying is I genuinely think we'll get Evil Morty and Poopy Butthole team up in season 10, right? Or they at least see each other because they're going to be in the fourth dimension, right? Which is not, they specifically said fourth dimension and not another universe. They didn't even mention that, right? Which I genuinely think like they're going to meet up, and that's when like the team was going to start. And I think we could see Evil Morty in season 10. Now, would they break the rule? Yes. Do we really care about the rule? I don't really think so, right? As long as he's not overused, right? And I think we could see that team up, right? In this, and it could possibly be the end of the story, of their story too, right? Because the whole scene was because like, Rick, do you want to see the end of your story? Whatever, right? That's my 2 cents for the post credit scene. Did this finale deliver? Right? I know this is the whole reason you watch the video, right? Did it stick the landing? Absolutely, it did. I think this is the best finale we've had in seasons, right? And that's saying a lot. That's a bold statement, I know, because the funeral episode was really good. Last season finale was really good. I don't remember the season 6 finale. I think that's the Christmas lightsaber one. That one was pretty good. Season 5 finale was really good. It could be even the best finale ever. And I think this season, I'm gonna say it is top 3. I think this season is amazing. I think we saw a lot of character growth. Overall, we've been experiencing these characters for like what 12, 13 years now, and we're finally like seeing it. And I think the great writers are good. Also, this episode, 9.9 out of 10, first one. This might be my favorite episode of Rick and Morty ever. Okay, that's a hot take. I'm a LARPer, and I do want to rewatch the series, right? But this is such a good episode. If you haven't seen the season, go watch it. Even if you just watch season 9, go watch it. Right, half the season is on HBO right now if you're into that, so go watch that, okay? This season is a top 2 season for me, okay? Top 2 or 3 season for me, right? This season all around's been good. Season 9 did stick the landing, and also this finale here was like, sorry, I don't want to scramble too much, right? Let's get the point across. This finale here was genuinely, there's talks about a Rick and Morty movie. I don't know how true it is. I haven't researched it that much, but this episode was genuinely like movie level storytelling. My only 2 gripes with it, one is the whole dad thing. I think that lowers it, but I think another thing, and not a bad problem to have, right? Unless they do it a lot, is I wish like this could have been a movie and this would have been excellent, right? A little longer to flesh out like whatever, because I feel like it was just went by so fast, which is good. I love this episode. That's my 2 cents for season 9. I do want to make a season 9 video, so I'm going to talk more about it there, right? Because this is more just going over and talking about things I noticed. I love this episode, right? From start to finish, I love it. Also, the fact that they didn't show a title card, like you knew where you were in for a good treat, right? Literally, oh my god, Chef's Kiss episode, Chef's Kiss season. Thank you, Adult Swim. Thank you, Dan Hardman, I think it is. Thank you. I appreciate it. Oh my god. And also, yeah. Enough of that. All right. Let's do the outro now. A few things I want to address with you. A few things I want to talk about for YouTube. If you guys want me to watch another show and review it like this, please leave in the comments, right? Also, if you just watch this far, leave in the comments. I want to hear about it, okay? Shout out to all these people that commented on my last video. Shout out to you guys. You guys are the goats. I appreciate for commenting. Yeah, I appreciate for commenting. Comment another show you want me to review, because I had a really good time with this. Obviously I'll do Rick and Morty season 10, right? But whenever that comes out, it's gonna be a while for now, right? I really want to do JJK because I love JJK. But if you guys have a show you want me to watch, I love watching shows, love watching movies, right? please let me know, right? I appreciate all the support I had in the last video too, right? And if you made it this far, I thank you. Thank you. And if you like my content, please like and subscribe. I'd love to get to 100 subscribers by the end of the year, right? I know I'm only at 82, but you know, miracles can happen, right? I really appreciate your guys' support. Um, I want to make a season 9 video. I also kind of want to review the whole series, right? And like once a month upload a season video on that because, right, I'm saying a lot of season 9 glaze, and I really want to rewatch the series. I have watched it already, but it was like years ago, right? Years ago when season 7 was starting to come out, right? Literally like years ago, right? Like whether that be a couple years ago, whatever, right? I really want to review the whole series again and make videos on that because I've been glazing season 9 and I don't want to seem like a larper, okay? To tell you the truth, right? But I appreciate all the support. Comment down if you want there's any other shows you want me to watch. And yeah, let's be good. I'm gonna try to upload another video this week, so be good.